I'm gonna finally play mbt-b. This tank I know is gonna be really good. It's quite interesting. It is quite the interesting one. Not only because I do want to play the tank, but also because I want to get some missions done. Which I probably be able to do the mission quite easily. I mean, with the factor of this tank, I mean, I could do the mission very easily. The mission is... Oops, that's the wrong place. The mission is destroy an enemy heavy tank by shooting it at causing at least 2,000 HP of damage. That's the one I want to do, but of course I could do it this way. Cause 4,500 HP of damage while remaining unspotted at the moment damage is caused. Which I don't want to do. That seems incredibly stupid to do, so I'm not doing it like that. Seems incredibly boring, because you're always going to be far away from the enemies. Sniping, basically. So, what I'll probably do is do it with the mbt-b first, and then do it with the H3. Or maybe a different heavy tank. It has to be a support. Yeah, it has to be a support. So maybe a different support heavy tank. Maybe this one? I don't know, something like that. Let me actually look. It has to be either a sniper or a support. And we want heavy tanks mainly. Oh, wow. Really? The KV-2 is a support heavy tank. That's crazy. But yeah, I don't think you can do it because it needs to be tier 8 at least. Yeah. Can't be any of those tiers. So these are the only tanks I can complete the mission with. Also, there's this weird thing under my desk. That's the reason you keep hearing that noise. Some stupid thing under my desk. I keep hitting with my legs. That's okay. Yeah, the mbt-b is perfect for this. Absolutely perfect. It's a heavy tank. Well, I am filtering by heavy tanks. I think I have a few more tanks here. Yeah, I do. That have the... what tanks can it be? It can be anything? I keep going to the wrong place. It can be any tank? Yeah, it can be heavy tank, medium tank, or tank destroyer. So yeah, okay. But it's easier to do with a heavy tank, of course, because I'm going into the heavy side. I can do it with the Vickers. I can do it with the Executor. There's definitely a few tanks here. But yes, I'm gonna do it with the heavy tanks first. And the mbt-b is the first one. I don't know how long I'll be recording for. We'll see. Probably some time. Yeah, I need to play a bit. I definitely do need to play. Still Hunter. 4 days. Is it open currently? I think so, yeah. Yeah, that's true. We'll do that later. Or should I do it now? The problem is it's a limited time event, so I have to do it. I have to play it. No, we're gonna play the mbt-b first. Maybe I'll do that after. I think I'll probably play the mbt-b and get the mission done and then go play that, because I should play that. Yeah, that's what I'll do. So we're going hardening. Vertical stabilizer, definitely. Turbocharger. That's the best build. Nice. And firepower. And when I get this thing nicely tuned. So we probably want... We can do all 3-member crew. Okay, I'm gonna do it like that. All 3. We're gonna do a recruit here. Hardy Sugars. It's a very interesting name. We'll put these 2 females here. Very nice. Perfect. And of course, we'll train it a little bit. Perfect. 50%. We should go... What do we have? Oh, we could do Deadeye. We could absolutely do Deadeye. Oh, I might have to do Deadeye. I might have to do Deadeye. Maybe off-road driving too. Yeah, potentially. I would like Brothers in Arms, though, of course. But Deadeye is very useful for ammo wrecking, so we're gonna do that. Though, of course, I could say, like, we should keep it the same for all of my builds. And put, not hardening, what am I talking about? Brothers in Arms there, and we can keep it consistent. Yeah, I could. I could also simply get it to the 4th perk, actually, instead. I do have more than enough booklets for this. It just would take a lot. I mean, as you can see, this is taking a insane amount of booklets. 46. Yeah, that's quite a lot. I could also do manuals and get it even higher. I would only get it to 39, so I'd have to do more booklets from there. But no, we're saving these we're saving these training manuals for something else. I don't want to use it on something like this when I already put a bunch of stuff in it. I do have 10 mentoring licenses, though. That's very nice. Okay, we'll do it for this tank. We'll do this. We'll do this for this tank. Simply to get Brothers in Arms, and then also to get something else. There. If you cannot choose between either of them, then simply get both. So firefighting, and then, I mean, of course, firefighting if she gets set on fire. Of course, I will be having survival improvement suite at some point on this tank, so I could take this off to simply put something else. Like, I mean, there really isn't that much else, though. I guess this would probably be better, but even then, it's not really that useful. I don't care about view range. Of course, view range can help in some way, but it's really not that important for a heavy tank. Snapshots, that, and Deadeye. Very nice. No intuition because we're not doing that. Safe stowage first, then probably ammo tuning or mag mastery. We can go mag mastery to get more damage per minute. Definitely, I would say that's best. We also have close combat, so if we did both of them. Oh, we also have adrenaline rush to use. Oh wow. It says it decreases the reload by 3 seconds. Okay, very interesting stuff. This decreases by about a second. This simply makes the damage better for the clip. Which one do I want? I would say I want ammo tuning. I don't think I want this. I want the highest amount of damage in the clip, basically, and the highest penetration too. I can only get... Oh yeah, that is true. I can only get... Dang, that is true. I can only get one more. Would I still prefer this? Maybe. And then maybe I'll get Mag Mastery. So I'll get ammo tuning and then Mag Mastery, and then skip the Adrenaline Rush and the close combat. Of course, I would like the extra bit of damage per minute, but you're waiting a long time anyways. It's not as important as clip damage. Okay. Smooth ride, reliable placement, brothers in arms, then I would say off-road driving. Definitely. Clutch braking is important, but off-road driving. Yeah, we put off-road driving because it helps to get to locations faster in soft terrain and everything. I like the clutch braking though, but yeah, off-road driving is better. Off-road driving is better. Hopefully I won't get set on fire. Hopefully. That would be really sad if I do. That would be very sad if I do. So what this tank has to offer, it has a insane clip. That's all you need to know, really. It does 400 damage a shot. It shoots twice every time you press the fire button, but it has 3 times to shoot twice. So 6 shells in total for 400 damage each. So 6 times 4 is 2,400. It's quite a lot of damage. And it can do that damage within 7 seconds. All of it. It's about 7 seconds. It's a little bit longer than that because of the time it takes for the second shell to come out of the gun, which is actually 0.5 seconds. But that only adds 1.5 seconds, so it's actually 8.5 seconds that it can do all the shells in. 8.5 seconds. This tank has no armor. Basically none. Basically none. It has a little bit, and it does have good armor for high explosive, which is very nice. As you can see, the high explosive will struggle quite a bit with this tank. 53 millimeters. This is a standard amount for a lot of tanks. If you have 60 and higher, and you'll have a better time. But this tank has quite good high explosive armor. Frontally, you're not getting through this. This tank has really good armor for high explosive. You're basically never getting through this unless you have really good penetration HESH rounds, like FE 4005 level. So I would like to get the field modifications for this tank. I would really like to get them because I don't like playing my tank without them. But unfortunately, it costs so much. As you can see, Cost 224,000. But you know what? I have extra. I'm very tempted. I am very tempted. Dispersion. There's also this one. Aiming speed, which gives me better aiming speed. But this one's better. The aiming circle size after firing. Simply helps with the second shot, which is very important to hit. And if you get an extra 15% aiming circle size after firing, you're basically going to be hurting the tank way too much. It's difficult to choose between these two. I had a difficult time to try to choose between these two, but of course aiming time can be nice, but the fact is the gun doesn't have much time to actually aim in on that second shell. So you have to get this to basically make the tank even correct. Even correct. They should have put it here. I don't know why they put it here in the hit points. It makes no sense. They should have put it a choice between hit points and maybe like module durability or something like that, or the gun. But instead they did it weirdly. They put hit points and the gun here, and then they put a little bit of the gun here, which is something very important, but they didn't do fully on one, which would be really nice to have. They should have done it like that. It would be much simpler, much easier to understand, but this is actually the best way to do it, is this thing here, because the aiming time, of course you would like to have aiming time more, but you have to simply do it like this, because otherwise the second shell is going to be so much less accurate. It's simply not worth it. You should always go for reverse speed here. Helps with the mobility. You want this one here for artillery. Of course, view range is nice, but artillery is disgusting, so you want this one. Aiming speed, of course, you want the aiming speed here. Don't worry about this nonsense. This thing already gets low enough. Dispersion at 100 meters gets more than low enough, so you want the aiming speed. And then for this, you want... It's a tough one, really. It is a tough one. I would say probably this, though. Probably this. Maintaining speed when crossing all terrain types, it's useful, but this is very important. Halt reverse speed. You want the tank to turn in quick, basically. That's the best build on this tank. How much hit points do you gain? So it's currently at 2,300. How much do I have without all of that? 2,200. Interesting. I don't want to have to use experience. I'm tired of using my experience because I want it for assembly shops. But I do have extra. Should I say 1 million? Should I say simply I have to save 1 million? Is that what I should do? Or should I simply do it the annoying way, in a way? No, I should do it. I should do it. I think I should. The annoying way would be to simply play the tank how it is currently, and to try to get the field modifications later. But it's so stupid. It's so annoying to have to play the tank in a worse state to then get the things later, because then later you probably won't care as much. You're not going to be wanting to play the tank as much later. You want to play it now. And you want to play it at its full potential now, not later. That's the reason I don't like field modifications. I wish they would remove this nonsense from the game and simply give you some choices to choose between. They could make it so that it costs credits or whatever, but they should never make it behind this nonsense experience garbage. They should always simply make it between credits. This experience nonsense, this should be removed from the game. It completely makes it slow and boring to get this. And you even have to use real money sometimes, and it's completely unnecessary. It's simply a bad design of the game. That's all this is. This is bad design. It's a bad design for the consumers, for the players. It's good design for marketing and trying to make money, but it's bad design for the players. And even so, it doesn't do much for money. So in general, it's not good. Because all it does more for hurting players than what it does for gaining money. And so that means it's not worth it, because you're actually going to lose money from that. Making players happy is what will make them want to spend money on your game, not putting stupid things like this in the game that are not necessary to have. Remove the leveling system and make these a fixed price. And also, if you do this, just simply compensate us with like 1,000,000 free XP. Give us all back 1,000,000 free XP, and we'll feel much better about ourselves. Or maybe half that. Maybe do 500k or something like that. Or none. I don't care that much, really. It's not that important. As long as you simply remove this system, that'll be a big win for a lot of players. Remove this system. This system is not correct. I want to simply be able to play my tank, and I cannot play my tank because I have to think about assembly shops. I have to think about if I will have enough experience for later, and if I will want to have more experience in this later. And I shouldn't be thinking about this when I'm trying to simply play my tank and play it at the maximum level. That should not be something I need to think about. So this is absolute nonsense. This whole screen here, this leveling system, it's absolute nonsense, and it needs to be removed. And you could even increase these prices. You can set these prices to 200k or something like that, since it's tier 10 or whatever. Whatever. I don't care. Remove the leveling system, though. This leveling system has to go. It's such a boring game mechanic. It's so boring. It's not fun at all. So you're basically forced to play the tank. You're basically forced to either play the tank for a long time without being fully leveled, and then wanting it to be fully leveled, and then you're going to want to play the tank even more because of that. But it's still not going to be as fun as when you got it, of course, and as interesting as when you got it. Or you're going to have to pay for this, and you have to pay immediately at the start for this. And that's not cheap to do, because it is quite difficult to do. You either have to play a lot to get as much free experience as I have, or you have to pay gold for it. So it's not simply something to easily do. You have to play a lot to get this much free XP. Enough to actually purchase the entire leveling thing, to get the max level. You have to play a lot to get 224,000 free experience. To pay for the entire level immediately without playing the tank at all. Yes, you have to do that. Without playing this tank at all, you have to have a lot of free XP experience, and that takes a long time. Or You have to pay gold for it from the free experience you already had previously. But you see, the thing is that's a limited amount of free experience too. The amount of free experience you have on your tanks is simply from how much you play those tanks and how much extra you have. So that's not so simple either. And it would be really nice to not have to use your free experience on a tank simply to get it to the maximum level. That is really stupid. It's okay for tier 11s because whatever, that's tier 11s, that's their special thing, they have their upgrades and everything, but for these types of tanks, field modification should not be an upgrade thing because it's literally not, it's not even really fully an upgrade. It's actually, it's a choice. You get to choose between things. So it's preferential. But for tier 11s, that's literally purely upgrades. But even for tier 11s, you should definitely remove it there too. No one likes upgrading their tank like that. No one likes that. It's too much. It takes too long. No one likes that garbage. People want to simply have the tank and have a good tank and enjoy it. They don't want to think about, oh, when will I have the next upgrade? Oh, this tank would be so much better if it had that upgrade. No one wants to do that. No one wants to think about those things. I'll do it. I'll do it. I have to do it. This is a screen. This is a screen I should see without any nonsense. Like this should not even be here. It should have this by default. Or this should be like a specific to its role type of thing. So it should be like this is a support tank and it's a tier 10 tank, so it gets these bonuses instead of level of field modification. So we got this one. We got this one. And also, yeah, these things cost a lot too. Like, this is a lot. I mean, that is 750,000 credits for these. That's a lot of credits. It is a lot of credits. I would really like this to be cheaper too, but unfortunately it isn't. It is what it is. It's okay. I would like it to be cheaper, but it's okay. It doesn't have to be. I understand that you can't have everything in this game. You can't have everything. Well, you can have everything, but the fact is they're probably not going to. So, I would like this to be cheaper though. It's, like, it doesn't need to be this expensive. Like, 100,000 credits is a lot of credits actually. Especially for a tank like this, where you're not actually earning that much credits. Especially when you're firing only premium ammo like I'm going to be. You know what, I could actually use standard. 260 is not that bad of penetration on standard. It's simply that you have to load in a new clip to do that, so it's quite difficult to justify. Yeah. That's quite sad, actually, now that I think about it. I'm not going to earn credits if I use all premium ammo. And this is the reason I don't like this system. It's like, why do you have to think about so many things like this? It's so boring. I shouldn't be thinking about if I should earn credits. If I could earn credits from using the most optimal credit, the most optimal shell, the most optimal strategy. I should not be thinking about if I should be earning credits from this. If I could be earning credits from this. Another boring mechanic. It's a boring mechanic because of the fact that you have to think about intuition switching at a perfect moment because you have the rear of a tank or if you have the front of the tank and all this nonsense. When a tank like this, it's not good to need to intuition switch because it simply takes too long. If it was instant, I would be perfectly okay with it. And also, I would really like there not to be a skill for intuition. I feel like intuition should really be on every tank. It's absolute stupidity that you have to even think about, like, do I want intuition on a tank? That should be something that's by default on every tank. If it can be on one tank, it should be on every tank because it's something that's very basic. Switching shells. It's very basic. That should not be a crew skill, it should be built in. And it should also be instant. No one cares about this nonsense of waiting so long to get a shell back. You make it instantaneous, like World Tanks Blitz. Blitz has such a good system for choosing your shell. You press the button and it instantly changes the shell. That is such a perfect system. I don't understand why wargaming cannot do that. Also, they should drop the system of needing to press the button twice. They should make it so that it's one time. Once you press the button a single time, it instantly changes to the shell. And what that means is that there's never a moment where the game automatically switches your shell. You have to do it manually every time. Basically, that's what that means. Which is correct, because that makes it so it's more interactive. The game feels more fluent and less boring and less repetitive. So you're more interactive in the game. And so you're changing shell instantly when you want to, and not simply tapping it for no reason. Or for a reason that you think is correct at the start of the match. If every tank had intuition built in, and it was instantaneous, 100%. I would load like 30 shells. I would load it like this most likely. Because I could see sometimes I'll be loading more APCR rounds, sometimes I'll be doing this and being okay with this. But the problem is, like, if I have a full clip of this, but then I have to use this because of a heavy tank that I cannot penetrate, then I have to wait a long time to intuition switch. And that means I also have to have intuition on my tank, which wastes a crew slot, which I don't have many actually here, so I would have to drop safe stowage for it. I would have to drop ammo tuning for it, actually. I would put intuition and safe stowage, so I'd have to drop ammo tuning for it, which is incredibly stupid. That's incredibly stupid simply to change your shells. It's incredibly boring game design. And it's not fun. And that's another one of the reasons that new players are not staying in the game. It's because there's a bunch of boring game designs like that. You want to make it easier for young people to play this game, because if a young person can have fun in this game, then an older person also should be able to have fun in this game. Of course, because of this game being made for older people, it's definitely made for older people, for people that's. But that's another problem with this game. Is like you can't really choose a side. It doesn't have a very strong indication of what players should be playing this game. That's one of the reasons it's starting to fail. Is because the player base is mixed. It's not meant for younger people, but it's also not meant for older people because the games are faster and they're much more complicated and much more stupid now. So they need to stop with the nonsense and get their thoughts together and start thinking about these things. And I really didn't start recording this video to talk about this, but it's okay. I want to talk about this. For the fact of younger people, if you simply made it so that their intuition's built in, instead of having to waste a crew skill for it, it would be much better for younger people. It would be so much simpler to understand and so much easier and so much more intuitive. So much more intuitive and so much more fun-based. It would be much more fun-based instead of experience-based. And also for older people, there would still be a lot of competitiveness. So it doesn't change much for older people. For players that play this game for a long time, or for players that are simply older, it wouldn't change much. It would help them play differently, but also better, because if they're not worrying about intuition switch time, then things are gonna be much better. And I don't know how this game has survived for so long, really. With all this nonsense that's built into the game, I really don't know how long this game has survived for so long. But they need to start with some improvements, and this could be amazing for players. I don't think it would hurt the game at all. Yes, there's a factor of, oh, you could intuition switch immediately to a better shell potentially and do more damage. Then is that not a good thing? Is that not a fun thing then? If your tank has the ability to do more damage with a special shell, then is it not a good thing that you're able to do that damage at that specific moment with a quick switch? That could also be skill-based. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. That's simply using your tank to its full potential. And you know what's gonna happen anyways is that people actually learn to to wait, or not wait, but press the button before they actually get into a position, and then they wait a little bit, and then when they're actually in position, they use the shot anyways. But it's so much more boring. It's so much more slow, and it's also much less reliable. Because what if in that position the guy that you were trying to shoot at moved, so he's not there anymore? And what if there's a tank that you cannot use that special ammunition on anymore? And so you have to intuition switch back. Oh, what if they shoot you? Oh, then you can't shoot them back, and then you waste that whole chance. Then you basically you lost value from trying to be intelligent. So it's simply stupid. It's very stupid, and it's not fun based. It's luck based, basically. That's very dumb. That's a dumb mechanic to have in a game like this, where everything else is luck based. There's a lot of luck based already in this game. The shells, of course, being the main one. Also artillery. But there's more than enough luck-based things in this game already. There does not need to be intuition switching also being luck-based. So the fact is, the shells should be instantaneous. switching, you should switch to shells immediately, and they should have no penalty. Zero penalty time. It doesn't make any sense. Especially for this type of game. Of course, in World of Tanks Blitz, it's close range and faster. So you might say that means you need to have the intuition switch be instantaneous, but even in that game, you could justify it being a second or however long for different tanks. So in this game, it's the same way. You can say whatever you want for the current system, but you could also say what I'm saying now. And it makes much more sense to have it instantaneous because in this game, it depends on your caliber of your gun and how long the reload is. Well, it depends on how long the reload is. That's how much it depends on. How much the reload is, and then it subtracts 80% of that. So basically what that means is that when you have a tank with a huge gun, you're getting punished harder for trying to switch your ammunition than a tank without that type of gun. And that's simply stupid because the fact is there's so many punishments with so many different tanks that have bigger guns. Like the fact of them being less accurate. It's incredibly stupid to also punish them on intuition switch time. It's not that huge of a punishment. Yes, it's not that huge, but the fact is it does affect the gameplay. And for this tank, it absolutely is a huge punishment. I think that, yeah, it's 10 seconds or so like that. Let's see, actually. What is 80% of 40? 41. Okay, it's 32.8. So 41 minus 32.8 is 8.2. So this tank would still have an 8.2 second reload time to get to the new shell. 8.2 seconds. That's a long time in a close engagement. So imagine this. You're in a situation, the guy has just fired, you realize, so you took damage and you can't even penetrate this guy with standard ammunition. So you have to switch. 8.2 seconds. That means potentially they could get another full reload in before you're even ready to fire again. That's a big difference because in a close combat situation where every second is important because of the fact of there not being any time to spare, there's no time to relax. In a close combat situation, there's no time to go behind a corner and reload. That could cost you. That could cost you the game. That could cost you your life, your tank. And that's purely because of higher reloads. Tanks with higher reloads get punished more for no reason. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. Yeah, you might talk about realism, but there's also a factor of realistic improvements to that. There would be realistic improvements to a factor of that. If there was a system that could even change your shells out faster when you wanted to switch them, then for a tank with a higher reload time for one shell, there would be a way to do it faster for a single shell, or if it's already loaded. I mean, the fact is, how would it even be faster? So the realistic thing is actually that there is no way to do it. Because if it loads one shell that slow, then it should load the next shell that slow. It doesn't make any sense. So the realistic way says basically that there is no way. I mean, there may be a way technically to make it work, but no, actually, let me think about this. I said before that if there's a way to load the shell faster, then there should be a way. But the thing is, I don't think there is a way to load the shell faster. The fact is, why would you not make the gun load the ammunition as fast as possible already? It doesn't make any sense. If you're building a tank, you're not going to make it so that the gun loads slower on the first time, and then if you want to change the shell, it's faster. That's not how you're going to make the gun. You're going to make it load the exact same speed for both times, but simply as fast as possible. So this system does not make any sense anyways. So it's purely from game design perspective, but even then it doesn't make any sense. Because this game is meant to be about realism. And you should either do it like this, where it takes a full reload and remove intuition entirely, or you make intuition instantaneous and each shell is instant. That's what you should do. Having it as a crew skill is disgusting and it's stupid, because it almost, for some tanks, it makes it basically instant. For some tanks it does, but for the higher reload tanks it still doesn't, and it takes quite a bit of time, and that can cost you in a serious situation. And it's not correct. Here's what they could do. They could also make it so that intuition reduces it to a flat value. They could do it to a flat value instead of a percentage. Like 5 seconds. Say, if you have intuition on your tank, if you have a crew skill, if you have the intuition crew skill, you can actually reload in 5 seconds for every single tank in the game. Even if the tank has a really short reload or something like that. Simply to add some type of consistency to every tank with it. It's either that, and also they should remove it from a crew skill in general. I would say having it as a crew skill makes no sense. In general, even if they were to do it like that, you should still not have it as a crew skill. It's quite boring game design to need to think about, oh, should I put this, should I put intuition on my tank? You should be able to have intuition on your tank without having to think about if I should put it on my tank, because of the fact that it takes a crew slot. It takes a crew skill slot. And because of that, you can't put another crew skill in that place. So it removes your ability to put other things in that place. That's not correct. Using a slot is not correct for something as simple as this. For something as boring as this. As changing ammunition types. So remove it from crew skills. It should not be a crew skill. It should be a default thing, and either make it 5 seconds for every single shell in the game, for every single tank in the game, 5 seconds to change shells, or make it so that it's instant. The instant way is better. It would make the game feel good to have different ammunition types instead of simply like potentially bad. It can make it actually good to have different ammunition types, simply because of the fact that there's no penalty to it, to simply switching to that different ammunition whenever you want. So it can make it good to have a little bit of high explosive, and good to have a little bit of armor piercing, instead of a bad thing potentially because of the fact that you need to intuition switch. And you know what? I would go even further with this idea. I would say to make the game really fun, like really, really fun and really interesting. This is definitely interesting, and definitely an interesting idea, but I would say they should even make it so that in a clip, if your tank has a clip, you should be able to instantly switch to, say, like high explosive or any different shell, and then instantly switch back even if you fired a shot. Even if you fired a shot or two, you should be able to instantly go back to whatever shell you want and still have that exact same amount of ammunition, but in that shell instead. That would be incredibly interesting. But, no, there's no buts. I like it. The idea would be perfect. It would make people using different ammunition way more consistent. And it would mean that players could be even better at the game, basically. And it would add another variable to get better at for players instead of simply making it luck-based, basically. There's a lot of luck-based nonsense in this game with switching ammunition, especially on a tank like this, the mbt-b, where you have a clip and you would have to risk it to switch to high explosive. You would have to risk it, basically. And there's only very few situations where you're actually going to have the chance to hit someone. So the reason I'm saying this is because it makes perfect sense in general, not for that one tank or whatever. It makes perfect sense in general to have it like this. To have it to where it instantly switches to that ammunition, and also if you fire a shell, it still instantly switches and simply changes all the remaining shells to that new ammunition. And then you can still do it for whatever else. You can switch until you basically have no ammunition left. And that would be such a good game design. It would be such a good game design. Such a good game. Such a good way to make this game better. And easier for new players, but also better for older players too. Because it is very annoying to have to switch ammunition, and when you fire a shot, you can no longer switch to the ammunition you had before without going for a full reload. It would make this game so much nicer. And yes, the factors of realism is a factor, but like I said, you already have intuition in the game. It's already 80% lower. That's not realistic. So your game design has already failed at being realistic. And either way, this game is not meant for realistic. Either way, it's not meant for being realistic, and it's not important. Ammunition type is not important for being realistic. What's important is the effects of the ammunition, the explosions, and the penetration of it. That's what's important for realism, not what ammunition type you're using. The only thing that having a quicker ammunition type will do to the game, and like being able to switch to it, I mean, like having a quicker switch time for your ammunition, the only thing it will do is make the game more fun and better in general for newer players and for older players. Because like I said, it's less luck based. It's more skill based. Because like I said, there's huge penalties for having intuition on a tank like this. Because you're loading all of your high explosive ammo, and then what if you can't penetrate a tank? What if you load all armor piercing and then you can't penetrate a tank, and then you have to do a full reload for your better ammunition? Yeah. There's a lot of things here to talk about. But definitely do these changes that I've said. These are perfect changes. At least try them. At least try them. I think I think a lot of players would like them though. I think if you suggested this into like a Discord chat, could be a interesting debate. I would say a lot of people would be very interested to talk about this. And of course, I know some people will dislike it, but also I think there would be a lot of people that like it too. The field modification changes, and also this, and also the crew perk changes. Those would be some very interesting discussions. But I would say you should try it too. I would say not everyone's in the Discord or whatever. It's not everyone's able to talk to you with in a channel or whatever, in a text field or whatever. Try it in your game. Simply add a little test update or so. It's a big update, but you know, a lot of things in this game, and the reason one of the main reasons this game is actually failing is because you're not really trying anything. You're doing whatever you want. You're simply doing things instead of trying things. And that's one of the main reasons the game is failing, is because you're not, like, the community isn't seeing you testing things. And they're not giving, like, we're not giving you any feedback or any actual important things like this. Any actual fun things. Where instead, there's surveys that come in sometimes, but that's not fun. To click through text boxes and talk about these and go through this survey, it's not fun. You know, it'd be much better is to simply add it into the game and then see what the community thinks about it. If they don't like it, remove it. If they do like it, keep it. It's that simple. I don't know how this is so complex to think about. It'd be much more interesting for both of us. It'd be much more interesting for the developers. It would be much more interesting for the players. When you add things to the game and simply don't care about what the community wants and then give them a survey later, that's simply stupid game design. It's boring game design, and it's outdated game design. It shows that you don't care that much about what the community thinks. And you don't care about what's actually correct either. Because the best way to do it is to test it instead of simply doing something. The best way to do it is to test it. And I'm not talking about a test server. I'm talking about the live server. I'm talking about the live server where all the players are playing it. It's so much more interesting to simply put it in the live server. If you put it in the test server, only specific people are going to actually test it. And that's not all the players. If you want a real conclusion on something, you have to put it in the live server. And that's the reason that whenever you test a tank on the test server and it goes into the live server and it's not correctly balanced. That's the reason for that, is because it's not the entire player base. And so that means obviously you're not going to get a perfect result. If you're not testing it with all the variables in mind, then obviously you're not going to account for everything. So the fact is, the only way to do this correctly is to put it in a live server, not a test server. And there's no reason not to, because the fact is, people can still have a good time. And if you simply made the game less luck-based and more skill-based, like with these changes that I've said, and also less boring in a lot of ways, like the field modification, then people would still want to play the game. They would really enjoy the game, and especially because of these changes. If they made these changes, people would be more motivated than ever to play this game, because of the fact that they would be hearing what you're saying. They would be looking at what you're doing, and would be motivated to stay and to let you test these things, to let you adjust. If there's a tank, like I said, if there's a tank that's not balanced, if it's bad, if it's too good, then they would be willing to the players would be more willing to stay and to endure it, and also to simply try to enjoy it. Try to enjoy it in some way. I mean, the game is still not bad in every single way, even if something like that is happening. There's still a lot of things to enjoy. So there's still a lot of things to enjoy. So the fact is, there's many things to enjoy in this game, and they need to stop with the constant being afraid of things. There's so many different things to enjoy in this game, but they simply have to stop being afraid. Make the changes I said. Stop being afraid. Stop being a little bitch. I mean, the community would love it if you made a change. If you made something that would be considering what they actually wanted and actually showing them how it could be fun. Like, simply put it in the live server, and not only would that be a really good test, but it would actually be very interesting for a lot of people. And not only would it increase the motivation to play the game, but it would increase the interest in the game. It would make things... Well, I say increase the interest. It would increase the motivation. Not only would it increase the motivation in the game, but it would increase people's thoughts about the game. Because they would be instead thinking about, wow, this is interesting because of the fact that you're trying to change things. You're trying to make things even better. It's like, how can things be even better? How can this game be even better? And you know what? That would be perfect in this type of situation, because this game really needs it currently. There's so many things wrong with this game. Artillery being one of the main ones. But the fact is, there's so many things wrong with this game. But there's also so many things correct about this game. So you simply have to go on the side more of correct. And the best way to do that is to test things on the live server and get everyone's opinion about it. And also use some of your logic. You don't need to simply talk about what people's opinions are. And that's what you've tried to do with this game, is like, you want to do things that make sense. But you've been mainly doing it for money and not caring about what people actually want. You've been mainly doing it for money, and the reason you're doing that is because you're lacking money, and the reason you're lacking money is because you're not doing what people want, and your game is dying. The only way to get more money is to make your game better, and you have to think about these things. Another thing, remove armor flashlight. Armor flashlight is, of course, I know it could be easier for players. I know it could be easier for young people and everything, but the problem is knowing what armor you can penetrate on a tank and knowing where to penetrate is literally, it's fundamental to the game, especially for heavy tanks. It's absolutely fundamental for heavy tanks, and it makes it so that there's so many different players that simply look around for a second. Oh, there it is, I can shoot there. Instead of actually using their brain. It does make it easier for young people, but the problem is that it also makes it easier for more skilled players, and that makes the young people actually do worse in a lot of situations because they still don't have the information. Like, it goes both ways, actually, here. So that, yeah, it makes it easier for young people, but it also makes it worse for young people, because when they play that heavy tank, when they play that strong tank, they're actually getting penetrated easier. because they don't know how to play the game as good, and the skilled players are going to be sitting there basically looking for the weak point, and they're going to know faster, and not only faster, but they're going to do it probably better. They're going to hit the weak points better than that young person did. And it also doesn't make much sense to have all the weak points shown, especially for heavy tanks, because heavy tanks they're the main armored tanks. And so if you have all the weak points shown, it's like, what is the real purpose of having a heavy tank? It's simply for the hit points then. That's the only reason. So it's like you're basing your game design off of not a tank being actually fully armored, it's the tank being like having a lot of hit points and its gun capabilities and its speed. Of course, there's other game mechanics to this game, but still, a heavy tank. The main purpose of a heavy tank is a lot of the times it's armor. That was the original game design. It was supposed to be armor. And even if it wasn't the original game design, it should be armor. That's the whole reason it's heavy. If you made a tank simply have a lot of hit points, then I don't think you would even make it... Like, does it even need to be heavy then? That's the reason it's called a heavy tank. It's because it has armor. That's the reason it's heavy. If you made a tank simply have a lot of hit points, then I don't think it would need to have that much armor to get that many hit points. Like, there isn't a reason for it not to have that much hit points without armor. To have a lot of hit points without armor. There isn't a reason for it. But I know it's correlated. Armor... But not always, actually. Not always. Because there's a lot of tanks in the game, actually, that have a lot of armor, but not as many hit points. So, the fact is, your game design is broken. It makes no sense. And armor flashlight and armor penetration indicators are actually the problem for it. Remove armor penetration indicator. Remove it completely. And armor flashlight. Remove it completely. Heavy tanks would actually be heavy tanks then. People would stop searching for weak points and instead simply shoot where they think is a good spot, and then that's it. And it would make the game so much more fun and interesting. Instead of some retard sitting there looking for 1 second and then finding the exact location to penetrate you every single time. Depending on your tank. It would make heavy tanks much more actually heavy tanks. And yes, that is a bigger change to remove armor penetration indicator. But again, you could try this. You don't have to simply think about it. Test it. Put it in the live server. And I almost guarantee you that everyone will enjoy it. Even the new players. Even the new players will enjoy it. Everyone will like it. The only people that will dislike it is the players that are not playing heavy tanks. And not playing a tank that has armor. Basically. The ones that are trying to fight the heavy tanks and trying to fight these armored tanks. Those are the only people that will dislike it. But that's because of the fact that they're normalized to this armor penetration indication. Yeah. These changes would be amazing because not only would it be better for... Not only would the armor penetration indication be better in a lot of ways, but also the intuition changes I talked about would be amazing for people using high explosive. Because if a high explosive clip wasn't penetrating a target, or if a high explosive shot wasn't penetrating a target, then you can basically instantly switch to the next ammunition. and you would barely have a consequence for it. And, well, you would have a consequence for it, of course, but that consequence would be the first shot, basically, and that's it. One shot, you test it, see if you can penetrate, and then if it doesn't penetrate, then you switch. See, this is a perfect way to talk about things, though. It's a perfect way to think about things. If you remove armor penetration indication, then a perfect way to compensate it for new players is to simply give them instantaneous intuition time. So it would make a lot of people quite happy about the game, I would say. Like, say you didn't penetrate a target, but you have a clip. Say you have a clip, you have your standard ammunition, you didn't penetrate a target, and you don't really know where to penetrate them because you see all red, or not, you don't see all red. You bounce your first shot. So bounce your first shot. Okay, well, let's simply load premium ammo. You click the button one time and it instantly loads premium ammo. So it's a very good way to compensate players that are struggling with a target. Of course, that means you still need to aim properly, but you can definitely aim properly. And like I said, it makes the game much more enjoyable. There's a lot more things to think about then. If you remove armor penetration indication, there's so much more things to think about. It makes the game so much more interesting, actually. It doesn't remove anything. It makes the game more interesting because of the fact that heavy tanks are now actually heavy tanks. Wow. And then the tanks with decent side armor are actually tanks with decent side armor, and you can bounce shots easier. Lower plates, I don't care about the armor models currently. The fact is, if you remove the armor penetration indication, all of those like really bad players that were simply searching for the weak points would now do bad. They would do worse. And that's good because that means the players that actually deserve to still be alive and in the game would still be alive and in the game, and they would have more of a good time. And so it would mean those players that sucked would need to get better at the game. They would need to get better instead of sucking so incredibly bad and then ruining your matches. Of course, there is a thing to think about with this. Like, of course, you could say that they might be on your team, though, of course, or whatever. But there already are bad players on my team. There already are bad players on the enemy team. It doesn't change anything if it's already true. So you simply do what's correct, and this would be the correct change. It would be such an amazing change. To remove armor penetration indication, remove all of it, the flashlight and the indicator, and remove intuition switch times. Test that, see how players like it, and also change the field modifications to make them not require free XP, and make them simple credits. You purchase them for credits, and that's it. It'd be so much nicer. So much less boring and so much more intuitive and so much more fun. Armor penetration indication in this game is really not necessary, and it's really not correct either, because this game is built from a lot of different game mechanics. Sometimes slow, sometimes fast, but the problem is when you have an armor penetration indicator, it makes the game more fast because people don't want to play as slow as much because of the fact that they get penetrated in so many different locations, and players can't simply relax. They can't simply relax if they're getting penetrated in Cupola and if they're getting penetrated in every single location because of the fact that people have armor flashlight and armor penetration indicator where they can simply look around the tank for a second and then know where their weak points are. There's no time to relax, and that's one of the main reasons the game has gotten so fast, and it's going to keep getting faster. If they do not change something, it's going to keep getting faster. Of course, they're going to try to reduce it by different things, but the fact is, the game will maintain its fast pace if it doesn't have the correct changes made, and this is one of those correct changes. Armor penetration indicator basically makes it so that playing slowly is actually worse than playing fast. Yes, it depends on the situation, but more often, playing slowly is actually worse than playing fast because of the fact that some tanks simply have weak points, other tanks don't. And so because of that, you're going to want to go in, or you can simply reduce the randomness, because sniping at weak points is quite random in a lot of the situations because weak points are not that huge. And so basically what that means is that if you remove the armor penetration indicators and you didn't know where the weak points are anymore, then that means that you could potentially stay there for longer. You can snipe for longer, and you can sit there for longer shooting at people's weak points or trying to find them, and it'd be more interesting to find the weak points. Of course, there's a factor of like, oh wow, it can make the games even faster because people don't know where the weak points are and they want to go in, potentially with the tank now. But that doesn't change the facts. The fact is, it would make a heavy tank actually a heavy tank. It would make a strong medium tank actually a strong medium tank. It doesn't change the facts. And yes, the matches, there might be some learning period. There will be, absolutely, actually there will be a learning period. If you were to make this change, all these changes, there would be a learning period between it. But the fact is, it would be better for the game in general. It would make more sense for heavy tanks. It would make more sense for armored tanks. The game would feel better, more intuitive, because of the intuition times, and also the fact that, like I said, it would make more sense. Armor flashlight is such a boring game design mechanic. You should basically reward players for thinking instead of using something like that. You should reward players for actually using their brains and putting a shot in the correct place instead of simply saying that they should be rewarded for looking 5 meters to the left or right. And seeing that, oh, you can penetrate in this location. Let me shoot there the entire match. It encourages quick thinking, actually. It encourages quick thinking and encourages more thinking about your shots. And that's important because that makes every shot more enjoyable when it penetrates, especially on heavy tanks. But it's not how the game is designed currently, and the reason for that is because they're not thinking about this type of stuff. They don't think about this. They're too stupid for it. They're too stupid. They don't think about this, and they also don't care to test it. They have their little test server. Oh, the test server. Players don't like it in the test server, so I guess I'm not going to try it in the live server. No, you should try it in the live server anyways, actually. You should try it in the live server instead, actually. The live server is the best way to try things, not the test server. But you're too stupid to understand that, obviously. And I could care less that I'm insulting you now. I could care less. The problem is, it's a fact. So you can't really say I'm doing something wrong by insulting you. It's literally a fact. And I say it's an insult. It's not even an insult. It's a fact. It's not an insult when it's simply a fact. Insults are mainly lies or fake things that people want to be true or people try to make true or act like they're true. Mainly that's what insults are, mainly. But that's not an insult. Me calling you stupid, that's not an insult. It's a fact. How has this game been here for 15 years and there's still so many stupid things? How so? How can you still not get your game correct? How can things be so misunderstood? And how can there be such a variance in what people think is correct? And also the player base, the enjoyment in the game. How can there be such a variance in the enjoyment in the game? With the players that actually play the game. The players that are actively trying to play the game. How can there be such a variance? It's because you don't understand what you're actually doing. You don't understand what's correct. And you're not making any changes. You're not making the tests. You're not doing the tests. You're not testing correctly. You're testing in the test server, and you're not testing the live server. You know, I'm tempted to make this a separate video at this point. I've talked so much. Maybe I should make this a separate video. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll make this a separate video. This game's been here for 15 years, and these changes I've said, they're not mind-blowing. They're not incredibly difficult to imagine or to consider. You're simply too stupid to implement them and to test them. You're too stupid. Try the changes. Do one little test. I mean, literally one try. One single try of them, and you'll see the results. All you need is one try for like a week. A week is all you need, and you'll probably see good results. Probably you will. I mean, probably. I really don't think that people will hate these changes that I've said. I really don't think so. I think people will like it a lot, especially the armored indication, because a lot of people hate the flashlight. A lot of players that play the game hate the flashlight because it makes new players have an easier time dealing with them. And that's not that fun because they don't deserve it. They don't deserve to have an easier time dealing with them. So, try the changes for a week, and I mean, there's no reason not to. If you don't, you're weak. You're too weak to try them. You're not mentally capable. You're not mentally prepared to try the changes. You're not willing. You're not caring about the community enough. And you really shouldn't even be in a position to make changes. If you don't care about the community enough to even test this, what I'm talking about, then you don't care enough about the community to be in the position you're in. You don't deserve it. And that's one of the reasons the game is failing and starting to lower its players, and you had to do some big update to try to get players back, to get more money, is because of people like you.